Stand by for your 10-second time check.
$100,000. The Dash for Cash is on the line.
I'm Christopher Bell.
The youth movement, the names are made here in the Xfinity Series, is alive and well here tonight.
The following is a presentation of the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Live on the Motor Racing Network, it's NASCAR practice from Richmond Raceway.
Good morning from Richmond Raceway. Kicking it off on a busy weekend here at the Commonwealth of Virginia, in the capital city of the Commonwealth of Virginia. It is practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series as they prepare for tonight's Toyota Care 250 here under the lights at this 3/4 mile oval. Motor Racing Network's coverage here. Steve Post and Dylan Welch high above the racetrack. We've got 40 drivers, 40 cars located down in the pit area, and they are getting ready to practice. Those cars will hit the track in about 4 or 5 minutes. But Dylan, when we look at this practice session, it's early morning for a race later on tonight. Speculate, what do we think we might see here in this practice session?
Well, Steve, it is the only practice for the Xfinity Series, just 1 2-hour practice here for these guys, and it's something you and I discussed. We don't really know what to expect because the track is so green right now. When the cars race later on tonight, there's going to be so much rubber laid down from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series that has also been practicing. They'll have qualified later today as well. It's going to be interesting to see how much stock these drivers and teams put into this early morning practice.
Well, instead of us speculating, let's talk to a driver that has had a lot of success. He swept both races here last year at Richmond Raceway. It's Christopher Bell. He's alongside of Alex Hayden, one of our duo of reporters covering things down in the garage area. Alex?
Yeah, Christopher Bell, he's going to make it in this business. He's pretty good, and he's got his arms folded across the red and black fire suit, getting ready for the one and only practice session of the day. $100,000 richer after the win last week at Bristol in the Xfinity Dash for Cash. But today's a different animal. It's a different racetrack. How do you approach today's event?
It's a good question. I think we just go out there and do what we think we're good at anyway. Last year this place was really good to us, so hopefully we'll have another shot at it. And if our car's as good as what it was last year, we should go a little bit faster than Xfinity Internet, and hopefully we can put this thing in victory lane.
I don't know if anything's much faster than the Xfinity X5, but that being said, you get ready to go to this one practice session. It's obviously early in the morning. You race later tonight. As a driver, is it difficult to not get swept up in what the car's doing today as opposed to what it'll do tonight?
That's what's so hard, man. We're going to go out here, and we're probably going to be really loose. And then all of a sudden we're going to tighten up, and then you have to look at your notes and understand what you need for the race at nighttime whenever the sun goes down. So it's going to be very difficult, and that's why I'm very thankful that I have Jason Ratcliffe as my crew chief.
Last question before you go ahead and get buckled in the race car. After the $100,000 win last week, all the trophies that you've been able to accumulate, what's it like to be Christopher Bell right now?
It's pretty good. I'm living the dream, that's for sure.
Go get him.
Thank you.
Christopher Bell is getting ready to climb inside his Rude Toyota and go get this practice session underway. Guys, 4 of 6 short track wins over the last 6. He's won 4 of them. This guy is on what we call a heater right now. Christopher Bell, he's got confidence. He's got a great race car, a great race team, and they're ready to go.
And he won both Richmond races last year in the Xfinity Series. That is Christopher Bell going for his 3rd straight Richmond victory later on tonight. One of the other drivers competing in the Dash for Cash is Cole Custer, coming off a 3rd place finish at Bristol last week. Our Jeff Striegel is downstairs with his crew chief.
Well, and a winner at California also, Dylan. Yeah, down here with Cole Custer and crew chief Mike Shiplett. And Mike, just a moment ago, we were hearing from Christopher Bell talking about how the car will change over the course of this 2-hour practice session. All right, that's from the driver's seat. What about from the crew chief's standpoint? How much will you think that you'll be adjusting on this race car over this practice session?
You know, our Ford Mustang will be really fast this morning. He's going to have a lot of grip. Everything's going to be good. Then about halfway through the practice, we're going to start fighting tight and drive off. So hopefully we can get enough rubber out there this morning so we can get a good feel of what the car is going to do later on in practice and make the right adjustments going into the race.
Is there an agenda when you sit down with Cole and the rest of the team and say, okay, we've got 120 minutes in which to get this done? This is how I want to go about doing it. Is that as precise as how you actually go about this?
Yeah, well, we sit down with our engineers, Davin and Justin, and we go through a plan that we want to try to accomplish in practice, and then we tell all the guys what we're going to do and kind of go through that plan. It's really just getting an idea of what adjustments, how they affect the car, so we can put it all together for the end of practice and get ready for race.
You know, and I guess the final thought here is how this team is beginning to gel. I mean, you have all the puzzle pieces. You have the driver, we have the crew chief, you have the team, you have the car. Now it appears as though all of those puzzle pieces are really starting to come together. And when that happens, good things happen.
Yeah, that's definitely right. You know, these summer months, we're just going to fine-tune everything and try to make some more speed and get ready for the playoffs, because that's what it's all about, those last 7 races at the end of the year.
All right, we'll let you get going. The track has just gone green. Good luck today. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
All right, that's Mike Shiplet. And by the way, Steve Post, we know how good Cole Custer is. We talk about him as the driver. What about the crew chief? How about this as a resume for this crew chief, Mike Shiplet? 10 times he's gone to victory lane with Kyle Larson, twice with Casey Kane. He's also been to victory lane with Alex Bowman, John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Marks, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, and most recently with his driver, Cole Custer, and that happened in California just a couple of weeks ago.
For those of you keeping score at home, that is 8 different drivers that Mike Shiplet has led to victory lane, one of the best in the business, one of the great crew chiefs down there, and one of 4 drivers that we talked about in the Dash for Cash. What is the Dash for Cash? It's a 4-race series of races here in the Xfinity Series. It started last week at Bristol, this week at Richmond, April 27th at Talladega Superspeedway, and May 4th at Dover, and it's a pretty simple program. 4 drivers, your top 4 finishers. The 4 drivers that competed at Bristol were the top 4 Xfinity Series regulars at Texas. They competed at Bristol. Christopher Bell was the best among those, and he picked up $100,000. The 4 drivers here, Cole Custer, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, and Chase Briscoe, and Dylan, $100,000. We've talked to some of these drivers. That certainly got their attention as far as racing each other and even what they do with the money once they won it.
Well, a couple of these guys have weddings to pay for too, so that's always nice to an extra $100,000. But really a great group this year. A lot of talent in these 4 drivers. Of course, you've got your defending series champion in Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, who has been arguably the best driver in this series for the last 2 years, just numbers wise. Yeah. Chase Briscoe has run really, really well the last 3 or 4 weeks, and Cole Custer is just always consistently strong. So a really, really solid group here of guys that are competing for this $100,000 every week.
It certainly is. That is for sure. Let's go back down to Alex Hayden.
Well, when we were last here at the Xfinity Series at Richmond Raceway, it was back in the month of September. The runner-up finisher in that race was Ross Chastain, albeit in a different race car driving for Chip Ganassi. But right now, Ross sits on the wall as you get ready for this one and only practice session. What are the challenges for practicing for 2 hours in the morning and racing at night?
Well, the biggest thing right off the bat for us will just be tires. So we're going to wait, and our friends over at Colleague Racing on the 11 bunch are going to give us Justin's rookie set after he runs. So he'll get 3 sets, and we're only allowed to buy 2, but we're only buying 1. So just for our budget, what we need to do, we'll get our splitter and all our travel set off of his rookie set. It'll have about 40 laps on it, and then we'll put our stickers on and run. You'll get 7 or 8 runs. But that's really the biggest thing for us. The track, it is what it is. It's the same for everybody. But yeah, it's not easy. The guys that are out right now will go fastest, but we're not worried about practice, and we'll just see what we can make out of the race.
That's Ross Chastain, patiently waiting to get out on the racetrack here at Richmond. Again, second place finish here back in September. Another driver standing alongside Jeff Striegel.
And that would be the 20-year-old driver, Austin Syndrich, who is in absolutely, Alex, no hurry to get on the racetrack. We've got 2 hours of practice. Austin just standing here looking at the LTI printing Ford Mustang. You're not in any hurry to get out there. Why?
No, it's one of those racetracks you race off the notebook, and you have 2 hours, and it's a highway racetrack, so kind of go out when we think the conditions are at least close to what we're going to race on, maybe try and do something and get a few long runs, get this 22 Mustang ready to race tonight.
You know, I hear from a lot of drivers that say, I didn't like this place when I first got here, but the more I've raced on it, the more I've come to like it. What about you? What do you think of the Richmond Raceway?
I've only raced here twice, the first 2 races here last year, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy it where you can use the brake pedal, feel like you can manipulate your car better throughout a run. And I don't know, I like it. Short track racing usually produces a pretty interesting show, and just trying to wrap my head around what I need to do as the driver to be as productive as possible in practice.
And what do you need to do now in the car when the green flag drops all the way through a complete race to get victory number 1? What's it going to take to put Austin in victory lane?
It's going to take a decent enough short run car and a good enough long run car to be able to win the race. I think you got to be connected throughout the run, and the best feedback I can give in this practice session is how am I going to see what our car is going to do tonight to really prepare us.
All right, that's Austin Syndrich, who will be driving the LTI Ford Mustang a little bit later on tonight. But guys, kind of interesting. Some people, as you can hear, already on the racetrack, taking advantage of every possible second. Other drivers, like Austin, content to wait it out.
Lots of different philosophies as far as this practice session goes, that is for sure. That's Austin Syndrich, 20-year-old racer from Columbus, Ohio. Jeff mentioned that some drivers have already taken to the racetrack. 6 drivers have been out on the racetrack, and the driver with the most laps, one of our Dash for Cash drivers, Chase Briscoe, he is also atop the speed charts. Other drivers who have already been on the racetrack, Chase Briscoe, Zane Smith, Stephen Light, Mason Diaz, Justin Haley, and Donald Thieves. So John Hunter Nemechek rolling onto the racetrack now from Richmond Raceway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Are you ready? To help children forget about their serious medical conditions so they can just be a kid. Then support Victory Junction, which is the dream of late race driver Adam Petty, who wanted to build a camp where children concentrate on fun and laughter, not illness or disability. At Victory Junction, kids enjoy ziplining, horseback riding, swimming, fishing, all in a medically safe environment, all at no cost to the camper. What do you say, Richard Petty?
Let's do this.
Learn more at victoryjunction.org.
Join Motor Racing Network every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. Get the latest news and exclusive interviews from the biggest names in the sport.
But I mean, I don't know how to summarize it any better that, you know, a driver's home track where his family and friends are all present just feels like a bigger event.
Hear the thoughts and opinions from NASCAR insiders and much more.
I mean, when people come up to me all the time and say, hey, Rusty, who's going to win this week? I consistently say the 4 car.
It's NASCAR Live every Tuesday evening at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Seven minutes into this practice session. This practice session is 1 hour and 50 minutes. So in the very early stages here today at Richmond, cars circulating around the racetrack. We're up to 13 drivers that have made their way out onto the speedway. Continues to be Chase Briscoe, who has ran the most laps, although he has brought his car back down to the attention of the crew now. So Chase Briscoe, Zane Smith, Justin Haley, Stephen Light, and Mason Diaz, the top drivers here. A lot of stories coming into this race. The Dash for Cash, of course, one of the top stories, as these drivers that we mentioned before the break racing for $100,000. Another story that we're really going to be following here along the way today on the Motor Racing Network and tonight as we roll with the Toyota Care 250 is the return to Elliott Sadler in the series. And good to see Elliott back here. He's worked out a deal with Colleague Racing to race here, and then he's going to race Las Vegas later on this season. And you know, Elliott had stepped away from the race car. He never used the R word, said if the right opportunity came about, he would do it. And Dylan, looks like it is the right opportunity for Elliott Sadler.
And he's been using this time away from the race car to spend some time with his family, coaching his son, who's a big baseball player, and spending some much needed time back at home. But it's great to have him back in the field. Such a great ambassador for the entire sport, but especially for this Xfinity Series, and a great place to make his return as well. Of course, Elliott, Virginia's native son from Emporia, Virginia, and has a lot of success here, has never won here at Richmond, but always runs strong here, finished in the top 10 in both races last year, and has got a great ride under him this weekend in that Colleague Racing machine.
Very excited. Had the opportunity on Tuesday night to spend a little time with Elliott on NASCAR Live, and he chatted about his return.
I hate to say this, but I'm nervous. I'm excited but nervous, man. I want to do a good job. I'm with a new team with Colleague Racing, and got a new sponsor with Nutrient Ag, and it's their first time in the sport. Ross Chastain gave them such a good ride at Daytona, man. I got some pretty big shoes to fill, and you always want to do good at your home track and here at home. And I got so many good friends at Richmond Raceway and from Southern Virginia that come watch us run. I'm kind of nervous, man. I kind of want to show up and do a good job.
And that's Elliott Sadler again, of course, who is returning to the seat this weekend aboard the Colleague Racing machine, a place he always run well. He's got 6 straight top 10 finishes here at this racetrack, and again finished in the top 10 both races last year. Alex Hayden, you're down in the Elliott Sadler pit box. What is the story from that section of pit road?
Focus, laser focus out of Elliott Sadler. He's been sitting up on top of the pit box watching these opening laps by some of the competition out there and keeping a very close eye on the timing and scoring out there. Then he's just come down. He did kind of wave at me and say hello to me, and we chatted for just a second, but he didn't want to talk just yet because he knew he was about to climb aboard the race car. He's done that right now, and he's got the helmet going on. It's a special helmet this weekend for Elliott Sadler, too. It's mostly yellow. He's got a black stripe around the lower part of it, along with some fluorescent red, if you will. And then his kids, Austin and Wyatt, have signed the helmet with a Sharpie and wrote notes individually to their dad. Austin, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at it here on this side of it, says, "Go Daddy Go, Austin," underneath it. Wyatt signed the right side of the helmet. But Elliott Sadler, as focused as I've ever seen him, he wants to come back here and not only perform well, he wants to win. And he would not be back inside this race car if he didn't feel like he had a legitimate shot to do that. It's green, it's black, Nutrient Ag Solutions on board this race car with Elliott Sadler here this weekend, who's trying to get that win here at Richmond Raceway.
Looking down and watching Elliott put the gloves on, and he is indeed getting ready to roll out onto the racetrack. You mentioned, Alex, his kids down there. That is Elliott's priority, and Dylan, you talked about it, his kids. In that conversation we had on NASCAR Live with Elliott, he shared that he would do all of the practices all week long, and then when it came time for his kids to go to the game, he'd be at a racetrack. And this past weekend, as a matter of fact, following Elliott on social media, one of his children ended up being a state champion, and instead of being at Bristol, running his Xfinity Series car and follow along on FaceTime, he was at the game. So Elliott Sadler has really enjoyed the transition from race car driver to father, but he's kind of sharing it with his kids now and making sure his kids have good recollections of him, and it's really, really neat to see that autograph, those signatures on the helmet of Elliott Sadler as he sits aboard the car and is getting ready to go out here at Richmond. We're 11 minutes and 55 seconds into this practice session. Noah Gragson is now the fastest driver as he has completed 7 laps during this session. Chase Briscoe is second fastest, Zane Smith is third. We've got Justin Haley fourth, and John Hunter Nemechek is in the 5th spot. The driver that has, John Hunter Nemechek has just surpassed Chase Briscoe as far as the most laps go. Chase, one of the first drivers to hit the racetrack, and our Jeff Striegel is down in Chase's garage area, pit area. Jeff, what you seeing down there with Chase Briscoe's team?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people doing a lot of work, including crew chief Richard Boswell, who just came back over the other side, said, yeah, I'll talk to you for a second. 4 laps, and you guys are very quick, but already you're under the car and making a wholesale bunch of changes. What are you trying to accomplish, and what are you doing at the moment?
Well, we just know that the track's so different this morning, so we're just trying to go a direction that we feel like the track's going to grow. Right now, just a little bit too free, and we know that's not going to play into our favor later this evening. So just trying to get him gripped up a little bit here, and more than anything, just getting him some laps.
You know, we're used to seeing cars, we talk about it, they're fast right off the trailer. You guys actually have shocks out, you've got springs out, you're underneath the car, you're making a lot of changes. Obviously, you're happy with the way the race car is, but at the same time, you're not content either.
Yeah, no, we're never content, obviously. We want to win these races. We haven't quite got to that position yet, so we're just trying to find directions that Chase really likes at these short tracks so that we can carry it on further into the year. So just using this as a test session right now. We know it's not indicative of what the track's going to do, but just trying to learn a little something.
We'll let you get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so there's the idea from the crew chief, but I got to tell you that it's rather interesting. You go out, you run 4 laps, you put yourself at P1 on top of the leaderboard, although like you said, Steve, a minute ago, that was bumped back to second as now Chase backs that Ford Mustang out of the pit stall. He'll go return now to the racetrack, but he'll do so after they changed rear shocks on that car. Fast yet, but not content. Looking for more speed here at Richmond.
And that is Jeff Striegel, who is down with Richard Boswell, the crew chief for Chase Briscoe aboard the Stewart-Haas Racing number 98. And Steve, this is a team that within the last 3 or 4 weeks has really kind of found their mojo. They're starting to hit their stride. They reeled off top 5 finishes the last 3 weeks, top 6 finishes the last 4, and really coming in with a lot of momentum here to Richmond.
They do have a lot of momentum and really riding that wave. We both actually spent some time with Chase Briscoe this week. Motor Racing Network We have Rip the Fence, which is a traditional sprint car podcast. Dylan, you're the host of that. And we have Wing Nation, which is a wing sprint car show. Chase, one of those sprint car guys, and he spent some time with us on Wing Nation. If you care to follow along and watch that, that will be Saturday morning over on MAV TV. Chase Briscoe is our in-studio guest. And then he jumped from one studio to the next and spent time talking with you guys as well. The thing that really struck me about Chase is the opportunity he had with Stewart-Haas Racing. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. And yeah, they were good at the start of the season, but not great. So I think to get your footing, to get your mojo, to get that, I think it's really, really neat. And a lot of optimism. I felt really good about his level of optimism. I don't know if it was the same with you guys.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And when you run well like this and consistently, that's the thing, is that you can run well a week, maybe take a week off and get back, but they're consistently strong and knocking on the door of a win. I feel like they ran well last weekend at Bristol. Another short track ran well at ISM Raceway in Phoenix, had a 6th place finish there. So they are very close, I feel like, to knocking on the door of getting a win.
They're very close. He's one of the Dash for Cash drivers, and he said, good news, I'm in the Dash for Cash. Bad news, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Cole Custer are in the Dash for Cash. He said, those are the best guys in the series right now. So it is going to be interesting to see what Chase Briscoe does here tonight in the Toyota Care 250. But yeah, good things from this skin. They're certainly trending. That's the word all the kids use nowadays. They're trending in the right direction.
They certainly are. And we'll be back to Richmond Raceway in just a moment for more practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series and their running of the Toyota Care 250. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
The family with the 8-foot stainless grill is in. Bachelorettes hooting at the drivers are in. The tightwad dad doing a free parking fist bump. Oh, yeah. He's in. Nana with 6 speeding tickets. She's in. Cornhole aficionados and NASCAR newbies in and in. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race at Kansas Speedway. Saturday, May 11th, under the lights. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. You in?
Wings Nation, your go-to for Wing Sprint Car Talk, news and information. Find all the episodes of Wing Nation on your favorite podcast platforms. Steve Post, Ashley Strami, and Aaron Evernhead go in-depth with the race winners and personalities from dirt tracks all across America. Like Wing Nation on Facebook. Follow Wing Nation on Twitter. You'll get stories and information and live broadcasts of Wing Nation shows from some of the top dirt tracks in the nation. Wing Nation, your home for winged sprint cars.
This is NASCAR Xfinity Series practice. Now, back to Jeff Striegel and Alex Hayden.
Alex Hayden and Jeff Striegel are down in pit road. It is Dylan Welch and Steve Post up in the booth this morning for the one and only practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series from Richmond Raceway and their running of the Toyota Care 250 later on this evening. Just about 18 minutes into practice. Noah Gragson currently sits on top of the leaderboard, followed by Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, and Zane Smith, along with Justin Haley, who rounds out the top 5. The driver who currently sits 7th on the leaderboard is John Hunter Nemechek aboard the GMS Racing Chevrolet. And Alex Hayden, what's the story from down in their pit?
After a solid start, 5 top 10s and 7 races for John Hunter Nemechek in his move over to GMS Racing. Right now, Dylan, they're battling the fact that they're banging the splitter down on the asphalt when he rolls out of the throttle. We hear the term travels a lot in the garage area, both here in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. And what we talk about with the travel is how much the shock absorber moves up and down to allow the suspension to go up and down with the car on weight shift. So when he gets out of the throttle and touches the brakes, the automatic force goes to the front wheels and compresses the nose down. You don't want to hit the splitter on the racetrack. When you do, that breaks the traction with the front tires, forces the car to go up the banking and do what we call is tight, no turn in the front tires. So what they've done is they've changed right front shocks. They've made an adjustment on the left front, but changed the right front shock itself, put a stiffer shock there to try to slow the travel down. So when he stands on the brake, that the splitter does not go down and touch the racetrack. It's a fine line down here in the garage area. You want the splitter right on top of the surface to try to block the air from going underneath the car, because when you get air under the splitter, that creates drag and slows you down, but you also don't want to drag the splitter on the track to break the traction with the front tires. So that's what they're working on with John Hunter Nemechek right now. You've got Brian Franklin, the Hendrick Motorsports engine tuner. He's already done his deal up underneath the hood of the car. Veteran crew chief Chad Norris has made the changes. Now Chad Norris moves back to the top of the box. He's on the radio with his team, giving some final instructions. They're going to make one slight adjustment, and the hood's going to go back down on this race car and send John Hunter Nemechek back out on the racetrack.
Alex, thanks. And Steve, another team here in John Hunter Nemechek and this GMS Racing bunch that are kind of hitting their stride, at least on the short track side of things, coming off a 5th place finish at Bristol, had a top 10 as well at ISM Raceway, and coming to Richmond, a place that they like and have run well at.
Yeah, they certainly have. It is a track that they have ran well at, and he's just lacked a little consistency. Finishes of 20th and 28th finishes throughout the course of this year have a couple of good weeks and then a bad week, and that's, I think, what the challenge is for this race team. And as you say, thus far, he's completed 19 laps. He's 7th fastest here. Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, Zane Smith, and Justin Haley, your top 5. Let's go back down into the pit area where Jeff Striegel has caught up with a very interested observer of what is happening on the racetrack.
Yeah, he is very observant and very interested in what's going on. Wayne Otten, managing director for NASCAR Xfinity Series. And Wayne, as you know, Motor Racing Network doesn't get an opportunity to do practice very often, but when we do, we love it. We get an opportunity to interact with people like yourself down here, just kind of overseeing everything, getting ready for tonight. I know you and I were just talking off air how proud you are of this division right now in 2019.
Man, I'll tell you what, we've had a really great season so far. I know Kyle Busch has won 3 races, but it's not by lack of the NASCAR Xfinity Series where the drivers are made. A lot of them are making their name this year. This is like old-time Saturday night short track racing here. One-day show. On the practice corner, working on pit road. Everybody fine-tuning these babies. Get them ready to go for a great race night here in Richmond.
And that's really what it's all about. Under the lights, short track racing on a Friday night. It really one of the great tracks in all of NASCAR, Richmond Raceway.
Oh, Richmond, I mean, it's got a lot of history behind it. A lot of great drivers have won this racetrack, and I wouldn't be surprised to see one of our young guns come out here as a winner tonight. They're getting a lot of laps in here this morning. We have 40 cars on the ground this week, which is really good for the series. That just shows the greatness of the NASCAR Xfinity Series, how great it is. And, you know, we got the old Wally Berger and Elliott Sadler back this week. He had to go in weigh yesterday for his car. First race has been back this year, and I told him, I said, boy, I can really tell you've been in retirement. But you know, we got a Dash for Cash race this weekend. No Cup drivers in the race. So one of these drivers will come out $100,000 richer.
And one of the things that you always talk about, always, the young guns in our sport. They start here, and I know that too, something you're very proud of. The young talent in the field here tonight. For listeners right now, who might be somebody that Wayne Otten thinks that you ought to keep your eye on?
I think you got to keep an eye on about everybody in the field, but you know, we got veterans, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell. They're running really good. Tyler Reddick, our current champion, is running really good this year with RCR. But we got this little kid named Noah Gragson, who's absolutely a pleasure. Justin Haley, Brandon Brown, Chase Briscoe. What a job he's done this year running this full-time series for the first time. But there's so many drivers in this series. And it's just amazing. I get to stand here and watch these guys. I'm a great fan of all NASCAR motorsports, all of motorsports, period. But to get to sit in the seat that I do and watch these guys really develop their talents, I'm going to tell you what, this is going to be one hell of a race tonight.
Enjoy it all. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for what you do.
You know, he refers to himself as the managing director. It ought to be ambassador for NASCAR because, Steve, let's go to you on this. You've known Wayne, Alex, you've known Wayne Dillon, the same thing, for a long, long time. We spend a lot of time with him doing things like we're doing right now and back before we even put a race car on the track. He is, honestly, one of the very, very good guys in our sport.
Good guy indeed. We love when we get the chance to talk with him. He has such a passion for this series, such a passion for his NASCAR racing, and such a passion for what this division is. I love that he referenced our veteran guys. I kind of chuckle. Veteran guys, Christopher Bell, 24 years old. Tyler Reddick, 23 years old. Oh, that veteran, Cole Custer, He's a whopping 21 years old, but that's kind of where the series is right now with these young drivers. Yeah, young drivers, but a lot of experience. But yeah, to your point, Wayne Otten is just such a passionate guy about this series, and so much respect in that garage area. And Dylan, I think, and you know, you're a racer, and you've raced, and I'm certainly not going to ask you to call anybody out along the way, but you've raced with series and people that you have a lot of respect for, and you've raced for series where it's like, this guy's a little bit of a clown here along the way. That respect that the series director have is so critical as this Xfinity Series just continues to roll along.
It absolutely means the world as a competitor to have somebody like Wayne who you know cares about the well-being of the drivers and the teams and wants the best for the sport, not just his best interest. So that really does go a long way, and it makes teams and drivers want to stick around and compete in this series when you have people like Wayne that are kind of leading the charge. So it's great. I think he's done a lot of great things with this series the last couple of years, and it's continued to grow, and I think will continue to grow here over the next couple of years.
That's our Dylan Welch. We mentioned he's a racer. He raced last weekend, actually, in the USAC midget cars up at Kokomo. Friday night went out his first race since the Chili Bowl, set a new track record, finished 8th, and finished 15th spot on the second night. So talk about a guy that knows his racing. That is our Dylan Welch. From a helmet and a steering wheel to a microphone here this weekend at Richmond. Always love getting his perspective as a race car driver. We are 26 minutes into this practice session. This practice session is 1 hour and 50 minutes. Noah Gragson is the fastest driver. Chase Briscoe is second. Cole Custer is third. Zane Smith, driving the Junior Motorsports number 8 car, is fourth. Justin Haley is fifth. Christopher Bell is sixth. John Hunter Nemechek is the number 7th place driver as far as the speed charts go. 8th is Justin Allgaier. Stephen Light is 9th. And Dylan Bassett is the 10th fastest driver. So we mentioned Noah Gragson atop the speed chart. He has completed 21 laps. Looking down the switch colors on that number 9 car, sits down here right directly in front of us. And yeah, I spy Jeff Striegel down there. Jeff, what are they working on with Noah Gregson's car?
Well, the hood is up on that car. He just brought it in while you were introducing him, Steve. Just brought it off the racetrack, like you said. 21 laps complete. Okay, that's good. Sitting on top of the speed chart, that's even better. Right now, you can just kind of visualize the crew right now getting the direction from the crew chief, and now they go to work on it. And that car has come down on the right side, going to go up on the left side. They'll take a look underneath that race car. Not the wholesale changes like we saw earlier down there with Chase Briscoe, but just going about their business under the hood. They're going to cool the radiator down. They're just taking their time like so many of the teams are. Now the right side's going to go back up in the air. Just kind of going through their work right now, going through the motions, if you will, Steve. Junior Motorsports, Chevrolet Camaro sitting on top right now with the 20-year-old Noah Gragson behind the wheel. And let's leave you with this fact. 1 top 5 already this year. Not what they're looking for. They expected that car to be in victory lane. It could happen here tonight. He's made 1 start at Richmond Raceway. That came 1 year ago. He was runner-up to Christopher Bell.
Yeah, I think when we look at where we're at in the season right now, you have the teams that are happy, you have the teams that are scratching their head, and I think Noah Gragson and that team expected a little bit better, but it has to be great to come back here at Richmond. He made his debut, as Jeff mentioned, finished second here last year. And Dylan, when you look at a young racer like Noah Gragson, Las Vegas native, has to be good for him to get back with a familiar car. Yeah, he's run the Truck Series races for a couple of years, but it has to be good to be back with a familiar car at a familiar racetrack like Richmond.
There's no doubt. I mean, and look, this is the team that won the championship last year in this division, this 9 team for Junior Motorsports. So the fact that they only have 1 top 5 finish this year is disappointing. There's no getting around that. That was a 3rd place finish at Noah's home track at Las Vegas. They've struggled the last couple of weeks, just 1 top 10 in the last 4 weeks, and that was the 9th last week at Bristol. But this is a track where you look to maybe turn things around because of how well Noah ran last year. He was in the Joe Gibbs car, but they're obviously fast so far, and it's got to give Noah a lot of confidence, I'm sure, to come back to a racetrack that he ran so well. I think he was just as good, if not better, than Christopher Bell last year in this race. So he knows how to get around this track, knows what it takes to make an Xfinity Series car go around here. So I think this could be a turnaround weekend for these guys.
I think they're looking at it that way as well. And yeah, that was a thriller last year. I actually thought, I agree with you, I think he was equally as good, if not better, than Christopher Bell here. Mixed it up, just came up on the short end of it. But when a 2nd place finish in your debut is the short end of it, I think that is pretty good. You know, we've spent a lot of time here. We're 29 minutes into this practice session talking about a lot of the mainstays, a lot of the names that we talk about each and every week with the Xfinity Series. We're going to step away. When we come back, we're going to introduce you to a couple of new names, young drivers that are here racing this weekend, and we'll do that and share their stories with you here in just a moment. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You hear it every week.
Just want to thank the whole team and all our guys back in Denver, everybody who supports this team.
They're the unsung heroes of NASCAR, and their life is the pits. This is Rocco Williams, and for 10 years, I've jacked up some of the biggest names in auto racing, and now I'm jacked to bring it all down to street level and acquaint you with the guys behind the wall and back at the shop. Join me on MRN Crew Call, presented by Money Lion, every Wednesday on MRN.com, iTunes, or wherever podcasts are found.
Hey guys, it's Dylan Welch. He's Tyler Burnett. We're the co-hosts of the Rip the Fence podcast. If you like traditional non-wing dirt track racing, we've got the podcast for you.
Christopher Bell.
I've flipped people off before, and every time I've stuck my hand out the side of the car with my finger up, I've DNF'd.
We literally crack open the mics and talk to some of the biggest stories in open wheel racing from past and present.
Ryan Newman is in.
He either chose to fight or not fight. He never chose to fight with me.
It's the Rip the Fence podcast, available on MRN.com and your favorite podcast app.
We are covering practice here from the Richmond Raceway, setting things up for tonight's Toyota Care 250 NASCAR Xfinity Series race. We are so glad you joined us. Motor Racing Network's coverage here on NASCAR.com, and the cars continue to circulate around the speedway. 32 drivers have made their way out onto the racetrack. 40 drivers on the property here, so a few more still working to get on the racetrack and make their first runs of the morning. Noah Gragson is the fastest driver. Not a lot has changed on this scoring pylon. Chase Briscoe second, Cole Custer is third, Zane Smith fourth, Justin Haley, Christopher Bell sixth, John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Allgaier, Stephen Light, and Dylan Bassett, your top 10 drivers thus far into the practice session. As we say, 31 minutes and 45 seconds into this 1 hour and 50-minute practice session. The cars continue to work their way around the speedway. Looking, seeing Cole Custer out there in his Ford Mustang making laps around the Richmond Raceway. And Cole third fastest, 20 laps is what he's ran so far, working on lap number 21 as he makes his way around the speedway. This racetrack, 3/4 of a mile, D-shaped. The bowed out part of it is right here in front of the main grandstand. The straight end of it, the capital letter D, is the back straightaway, and the cars wheeling around, and Cole Custer again making laps along that back straightaway now, along with other drivers here at Richmond racing their way through. We had talked before the break about a lot of drivers that maybe we know the names, and when we follow the NASCAR Xfinity Series, certainly know who they are, and they've been the main stories and the main stays along the way this year. But Richmond being a short track, a lot of times we bring in drivers that are new, that are climbing that lap, that are making their way up into the ranks of racing. And in the case of this weekend, we've got a couple of young racers that are in really, really good race cars. Let's take a look at the Junior Motorsports. The number 8 car, Zane Smith, a 19-year-old racer from Huntington Beach, California, one of the young guns we talk about here in the sport. And Alex Hayden, you're down there watching what's happening, what's going on in the pit area for young Zane Smith.
Well, it's an eventful practice for Zane Smith. You mentioned he's in great equipment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Junior Motorsports. They just put a spacer on the right front, trying to make sure they get a little extra turn out of the front of the race car to rotate better. For Zane Smith, he's the runner-up from a year ago in the Arkham Menard Series, so he's got a wealth of stock car experience under his belt. The first thing on the agenda today in this one and only practice is go out on the racetrack and see what it looks like. He's never raced here before as Zane Smith in the Xfinity Series, so he had to go out, run some laps, get a feel for it, and then put down a solid lap inside the top 5 in single lap speed. So the youngster from California is adapting very, very well, and quite frankly, that's part of the reason why he's behind the wheel of this race car. Now, there's a lot of different people sharing the driving duties in this number 8 for Junior Motorsports. One of them is Jeff Burton from right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Jeff, it's an awesome opportunity for drivers like yourself, for Zane, and everybody else to get the opportunity to get experience and more experience and seat time for top equipment. How important is that?
It's huge. It's been a long time since I've been in a really good race car, and at Texas, I think we showed what we can do together. So I'm really excited about working with these guys. We're working hard to try to get some more races, and my next race right now is Charlotte, So just really excited.
How important is it, because you're a veteran driver compared to a guy like Zane Smith, you've won in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series, how important is it for you to kind of change hats and almost become the mentor, if you will?
Yeah, I tried to help Zane some last week at Bristol. It seems like he's doing a really good job here at Richmond. So I think Taylor and all the guys do a really good job getting the cars really close. So all the drivers that get in are always in the top 10. So like I said, I'm really pumped up working with Taylor and these guys. I feel like we got a good special bond here, and hopefully next year we can race full time together.
It truly is a team effort down here for this number 8 Junior Motorsports car. Zane Smith behind the wheel at Bristol last week had a good car and a good run going, had to settle for an 11th place finish. This is his 3rd start this season in this car for Junior Motorsports. He was 24th at Las Vegas, 11th at Bristol last week, and he's trying to continue to get better results now here at Richmond today.
And as Alex alluded to, Zane getting better every weekend, and coming off a 11th place finish last week at Bristol, 4th right now on the leaderboard behind Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, and Cole Custer. And of course, race fans of the ARCA Racing Series familiar with Zane. He finished 2nd in those series points last year. Another young driver who is making his season debut tonight is Riley Herbst, who is aboard the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, the number 18 car this weekend. As his 2nd career start, he raced last year at Iowa to a 6th place finish, but his season debut tonight. And Jeff, what's the story down there in his pit? He's another one of the young up-and-comers in the Joe Gibbs Racing pipeline and looking for a great run tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And if you know the guy that Alex was talking about in Zane, well, then you probably know the guy that I'm talking about in Riley Herbst, because they both cut their teeth and gained recognition, if you will, in the ARCA Series. Now, I'm going to give you a tale of good news, bad news for Riley Herbst. Good news is you were a talented race car driver. You had success. You won at the ARCA level, and now you've got an opportunity to showcase your talent here in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. That's the good news. The bad news is the same exact thing. You've got an opportunity here tonight to showcase your talent. Why is that bad news? Well, he's driving the car that would normally, or from time to time, be driven by none other than Kyle Busch. So we know the car is a winning car. How much pressure does that put on a young race car driver who, like you said, Dylan, has made only one start? That came a year ago at Iowa. He finished 6th. So he comes here with high hope. Now, if he doesn't perform to where he needs to be here tonight, he's going to have 7 more opportunities, 8 in all, driving this Joe Gibbs number 18 Monster Energy Toyota Supra for the Las Vegas driver. So a tale of good news, bad news. And right now I can tell you this, Steve, he has been on the racetrack. They are not worried about lap times right now. They are worried about hitting their marks. Where do I brake? Where do I accelerate? Where is the car going to work best on the bottom? Will it work best if we move up? In other words, all they're trying to do right now, and actually Alex alluded to this just a moment ago, making their young driver comfortable behind the wheel. That's their focus right now. Then as we move through practice, they'll try to get quicker and obviously get Riley Herbst ready to take this Toyota to the front, if possible, here tonight at Richmond.
That number 18 car, as we mentioned, Kyle Busch has ran that car. The average finish for that race car this year has been 5th. So it is a stout race car. We know that. I like what Jeff said there. When we look at Riley Herbst, he's 15th on the scoring pylon of the drivers, the 33 drivers that have taken time. We're nearing the 40-minute mark of this practice session. He's 15th fastest, but the number that I like is he's completed 31 laps. That's a lot of laps around this racetrack, and that is a lot of getting comfortable with the race car. So it sounds like Ben Bayshore and everybody on that race team are doing well with their young race car driver as they get Riley Herbst ready to go. 20-year-old racer from Las Vegas, Nevada, as he makes his first start of the season here. And going to get some good seat time here this morning and see what he has here this evening.
39 minutes into the one and only practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series and their running of the Toyota Care 250. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Veteran drivers and rookie drivers. NASCAR Today Midday keeps you up to date with all your favorites each weekday.
it's a dream come true. A lot of you know the path that I've gone down.
There's a lot of opportunity with the package changes, you know, with the Chevrolet and the work they're putting in, and I know one thing's for sure, it's good to have my name on top of the Cup car.
Don't miss any of the breaking NASCAR news with NASCAR Today Midday, only on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
MRN's Classic Races.
Labonte gets crossed up. Labonte goes around. Dale Earnhardt now watches Labonte spun across the line and got the win.
Spanning 50 years of NASCAR racing.
Barney Hall. There's a beautiful afternoon here in Daytona Beach, and the action will be fast and furious.
Legendary voices, legendary races.
Darrell, simply, what happened? I just hope he chokes on that 200,000. That's all I can tell him.
MRN's Classic Races, available on MRN.com, iTunes, and your favorite podcast provider.
He did touch. No, he knocked the hell out of me.
Back at Richmond Raceway, working through practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series and their running of the Toyota Care 250 later on this evening. Right now, Noah Gragson sits on top of the leaderboard over Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, Zane Smith, and Justin Haley, the top 5. Christopher Bell, John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Allgaier, Stephen Lyke, and Dylan Bassett, the top 10. Well, Justin Haley, another one of the young up-and-comers in this series, currently 5th right now on the leaderboard, coming off 2 7th-place finishes, his best efforts of the year the last 2 weeks at Texas and at Bristol. And Alex, that Colleague Racing bunch has a double punch this weekend, if you will, with Justin and the return of Elliott Sadler. I know they're excited to get things going later on tonight.
They are, and we heard the managing director of the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Wayne Naughton, talk about the growth of the series. And when you have Matt Colleague, the team owner here, running a single car operation, now beginning to expand and add more races with a second car that is funded, by the way, with sponsorship, that's a big thing. And it really is to continue to show the growth of this race team in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Elliott Sadler behind the wheel of the car this weekend. Chris Rice is now the team manager. He used to be the crew chief of this car, and Chris Rice, the team manager. Well, you got a lot going on this weekend, but it's a good thing that you got Sadler and Justin Haley. Both cars have speed in them here early in practice. What's it like now that you guys have taken on this task of putting a second car on the track?
Well, it's amazing. You know, Matt Colleague, everybody in Ohio allows us to do this, but to have Elliott Sadler come over and just help us get our cars better is the thing, you know, and that's what we're working on right now with Elliott. He's telling us, okay, this is where your cars are, this is what they need, and it's just awesome to have Elliott back, but Justin Haley's doing an amazing job. First time he's ever been here. He's went out and run a bunch of laps. He'll come down here and talk to Elliott, so it's awesome to have a race team that's growing, right? You know, like Matt Colleague, Colleague Capital, everybody, you know, Nutrient Ag Solutions coming aboard the 10 so we can actually go and race it, and then Leaf Filter being on the 11. I'm excited, as you can tell, but I'm really excited to have Elliott back for his last 2 races in the Xfinity Series.
Now, you and Elliott have been friends for a long time, being down here in the racing business, if you will. When Elliott said, yes, I want to come race with you guys, what was that like personally for you?
Well, I went home and told my wife, Tammy, and I was like, hey, I think Elliott might race for us. She says, no, it's just a dream, so go ahead and wake up. And that's the way it's been the whole time. You know, watching the thing on Race Hub last night was pretty emotional for me. And what that does personally is, you know, we were kids growing up, and now for him to come back and race and us as a group be able to give him something back and let him have fun in his home state. His last race is going to be Las Vegas. It's pretty emotional. I know when he rolls off on tonight, it's going to be emotional, but probably at Vegas, his last lap's going to be real emotional. But him and I are friends. We'll always be friends, and that's what you get in this sport. You have a bunch of friends, but some you connect a lot better to.
And I know you got about 27 radios and a lot going on trying to get these cars better out there. Thank you for taking the time to join us here on Motor Racing Network. All the best tonight and the rest of the season.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you.
That's Chris Rice. He's the team manager for Colleague Racing down here, former crew chief. You know, the name Rice has been synonymous with NASCAR racing. His mom, Kathy, is the track manager, general manager of South Boston Speedway, just down the road in South Boston, Virginia. They have been around this garage a long, long time. And you mentioned he and Elliott Sadler growing up together as kids. Well, they're basically the same age. Chris decided he wanted to get into working on race cars and making them go fast. Elliott wanted to drive race cars. Things have worked out pretty well in both of them's favor. For the 2 cars for Colleague Racing, Justin Haley currently 5th. Elliott Sadler sits 12th on the leaderboard.
The Rice family absolutely big into racing there. Actually, last Sunday afternoon, I saw Chris, I saw his mom Kathy, his dad. They were at Orange County Speedway down in Rougemont, North Carolina for a Cars Tour late model race. So even during the off period of time, racing families go to racing events.
And one of the nicest guys in that garage area, Chris Rice. And as Alex mentioned, his 2 cars, 12th right now for Elliott Sadler. Justin Haley is 5th, who made a 32-lap run, so they're getting his long-run speed dialed in. And Justin making his first career Xfinity Series start here, but does have some K&N experience here back in 2015. He finished 12th.
Yes, we'll see what happens here as it rolls along. Speaking of Justins, we've talked about Justin Haley. Let's turn the page here and talk a little bit about Justin Allgaier. He will start in the number 8, or he is 8th fastest. He's ran 20 laps, and looking down, he is at the very first pit box, entering the pit area down here in turn number 4, and Jeff Striegel is down there now.
Bright orange and yellow, white Grant, a Chevrolet for JR Motorsports. Justin Allgaier, the name above the window net as he sits on board that car. Jason Burdett is the crew chief who's going to hand out a directive here in a minute, and then maybe we can slide in and talk to him. And here he comes now. I guess if I was to sum up the season thus far, I'd have to say inconsistency. You guys have been good, you guys have been not so good. Would you agree?
Yeah, you know, we've had good speed pretty much everywhere. We just got to put the whole race together. You know, unfortunately, we've had things happen out of our control, and some things that we could have controlled that have bit us. So, you know, moving forward, we just got to keep working on our speed and working on making faster race cars and trying to execute all the way to the checkered flag.
How difficult is that to keep everybody's morale up when you know you've got speed, you know you have a car, a team, and a driver that can go to victory lane, but for some reasons, like you said, even out of your control, you find yourself without a win so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody stays upbeat from what you just said. You know, we all know that we can do it. We all know we can go out and win any given week. So right now, you know, it's early in the year, and we got a long way to go, you know, so we just keep building. And last year, we kind of plateaued through the middle of the summer there and won some races and really looked good. And then at the end, it all kind of went away from us, you know. So this year, you know, hopefully we can keep building and push that plateau later into the season and win that championship.
All right, let's bring it right back to this particular racetrack and tonight. Right now, you guys sit 8th quick on the leaderboard here in practice. How good is the car, and what are you working on at the moment?
You know, right now the car's not too bad. Lap time wise, we're okay. We just have a list of items that, you know, we like to run through in practice just to kind of get information on. You know, practicing right now and racing tonight. Today's a long day, so we got a lot of decisions to make and a lot of little things, you know, to try to give us our best chance tonight.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Crew chief for Justin Allgaier, and both of you guys are well aware of the fact that, you know, it can be very frustrating, this sport. You can have all kinds of speed week in and week out, but until you go to victory lane, you're never going to be satisfied. And when you're inconsistent, like this veteran team, and Steve Dillon, we were talking about with Wayne Otten, the young guns and the veterans, make no mistake, Justin Allgaier, 32-year-old driver, he's one of the veterans. He has high expectations. Unfortunately, so far this year, they have not been fulfilled.
Well, and sometimes, Jeff, when you're up and down like they have been, you just have to look for the positives in each week. And last week, despite their finish, a lot of positives. They led 138 laps, won both stages at Bristol, involved in an incident later in the race that put them and relegated them to a 30th place finish, but looking to turn that around here at a place that they struggled at last year as well. 2 crashes in both races here at Richmond for Allgaier, but he's 3rd in overall speed this practice right now on the leaderboard as he sits. He is currently 8th. We talked about Justin Haley and that Colleague Racing bunch just a little bit ago. We'll go back to Alex Hayden, who has caught up with the driver who sits 5th on the board right now.
That is Justin Haley, who just out of the race car right now. Justin, will start first and foremost. How was the car early in practice?
Well, early in practice, the car was good. I was off. I went dirt racing last night with all the guys, scrimming and all them, and so we jumped back over to asphalt here at Richmond, and I haven't been to Richmond since like 2015 in the K&N car, so I was a little bit off, but we're getting there. We're sitting fast in practice, and just made a long run. Gonna go see what Elliott Sadler, my teammate, did, and Tyler Reddick. Try to get some notes and build. I'm a rookie, so just learning off the veterans.
When you say you were a little bit off, yet you're 5th on the leaderboard, how difficult or how easy is the best way to ask the question? Is it to adjust and adapt?
It's just so hard. I mean, coming over, I didn't have any issue, but the biggest thing is I haven't been here. It's a short track, and I haven't been here in an Xfinity car. And a K-10 car is a lot different, and it was a rain-shortened race that day, so I don't have too many laps around here, which is hard for me as a driver, especially at a short track. So just trying to adapt. I know we're 5th on the board, but, I mean, that don't mean anything.
Great season last year in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Moving over to the Xfinity Series, what are the challenges you're facing moving to the car?
It's been a big step. Physically, the schedule is a lot more grueling. The competition's way harder, and just the cars are a lot different. There's lots of parts and pieces on it that you can run. They can in the trucks, and it's just getting the handling of them is big. So we're working on it. We've been pretty good the past few weeks. I'm happy with our progression so far.
Finally, Justin, what's the rest of practice going to look like for you?
I don't know. I'm going to hop in here. We had a rookie set, so we burned through those pretty quickly. We're going to put a new set on here and see what we got.
Justin Haley, he talked about the rookie set. Every week, the rookies at racetracks get an extra set of Goodyear Eagle tires because of what he just said. We burn through the rookie set really quickly because he doesn't understand how to get around the track. He said he's never been here. Obviously, in the Xfinity car, they give them the extra set of tires so they can get out there, learn what they need to learn about getting around the racetrack. Then they can bolt on their other set of tires and really try to focus and dial in the handling of their race car.
Justin Haley, 5th fastest, continues to be in that spot. He has completed 47 laps. I want to go back to something he said. He said he went dirt track racing last night with Stremme in the gang, okay? Bring up to speed. Stremme, David Stremme, former Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series driver, is now a chassis builder in the dirt modified world. David, by the way, won the race last night. They were racing at Virginia Motor Speedway over in Jamaica, Virginia, about an hour away. Tony Stewart's Ollie's Bargain Outlet All-Star Circuit champion. The sprint cars and the modifieds were there. And yeah, that Justin Haley, whenever he gets a chance to wheel a car, he gets out there and goes for it. And that dirt track racing, that may very well help him here tonight. This racetrack gets all worn out and gets slippery. He might, dirt tracking it last night, he might be dirt tracking a little bit tonight. But that young man loves his racing, and dirt tracks are asphalt. He loves being out at the Speedway.
Just about 52 minutes into practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the Toyota Care 250 later on this evening on the Motor Racing Network. Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, Zane Smith, and the man we were just talking about, Justin Haley, round out the top 5. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check out MRN.com for a new podcast series called The Tough Trucks of NASCAR. 25 years and still trucking. We'll take you back to some great races.
Benson to the bottom of the racetrack. This is the race for the lead and the win at Michigan.
And some wild moments.
One truck is in the air. Matt Crafton upside down.
And we'll let you hear the stories behind them.
He was too bullheaded to let me pass him, and I was too bullheaded to let him have it.
Download the show for free on iTunes and at MRN.com.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice, Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
Back here at Richmond Raceway and continuing on with the Xfinity Series practice, getting us set up for the Toyota Care 250. Just kind of setting the scene here. A lot of times we'll do that at the start of a broadcast, but we've been so busy talking to drivers and crew chiefs, we haven't really painted a picture. Overcast skies here, not rain sort of overcast, just a cloud cover. So we had the sun trying to peek through a little bit earlier on, but right now the clouds have certainly won that battle, and cars continue to circulate around this racetrack. This racetrack, 3/4 of a mile, D-shaped, as we talked about, a capital letter D. Grandstands all the way from turn number 2 down here to turn number 4, and these grandstands will house NASCAR fans tonight and tomorrow night here as we return to the capital city of Richmond. So cloudcast been cloud cover and a little bit overcast. Maybe some good conditions to kind of duplicate what we'll have tonight under the lights here, as sometimes we talk about practicing here at Richmond and the sunshine beating down on the racetrack, and drivers and crew chiefs kind of shrug their shoulders and say it doesn't matter because we race under the lights. Pretty good conditions, I would say, for the racetrack. The challenge being is all of the rubber that will be put down today with Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series practice, and that does give us a chance to talk about the rest of the day here on Motor Racing Network. We're going to take this for about another hour to the end of this practice session, and then we will go at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series practice, and that's a 1-hour practice session. And then at 1 o'clock this afternoon, the final practice session for the Cup cars here at Richmond. All of those will be available at mrn.com, Motor Racing Network, and on NASCAR.com. We'll take a little bit of a breather here, and then we'll be back on Motor Racing Network at 5:30 for Cup qualifying, a little bit of a new format, a new twist to that. And then tonight, Mike Bagley and yours truly going to be here high atop the Speedway for the Toyota Care 250 Xfinity Series race. So we would invite you all day long, all weekend long, all season long to tune us in here on Motor Racing Network. Is every time the Cup cars hit the track, we have a practice session. Those races we're at, qualifying, and of course all the great racing action, so make sure you tune us in. Motor Racing Network online, or if you have an MRN affiliate in your area, make sure you support all of our great affiliates up and down the way, as they do a great job bringing NASCAR coverage to you week in and week out. So we are 55 minutes into this practice session, so about 55 minutes remaining, actually right at the halfway mark of the practice session. We talked about the Dash for Cash drivers. Cole Custer right now is second among those. Chase Briscoe is second overall. Cole Custer is third overall, second fastest among the Dash for Cash drivers. He won the pole position here in 2018. And let's go back down to the garage pit area. Alex Hayden, I believe you're in the vicinity of Cole Custer's team.
Yeah, Steve, I am. You know, Jeff Striegel talked to the crew chief, Mike Shiplet, before practice started, and he was optimistic about what they were going to have when they rolled out onto this 3/4-mile Richmond Raceway. And rightly so. They've been able to put down a fast lap, put themselves overall third on the leaderboard. Now, Cole Custer has that bright white and silver and black and red Haas Automation Ford working around the racetrack, coming by me as I speak here in turn number 1. I checked with Mike Shiplet just a second ago, and he said, we're okay. Right now, they're trying to find long-run speed. They've got some old tires on. You know, the tires are best 2, 3, 4 laps into a run. That's when they put their fastest lap down at third on the leaderboard. But they want to know, how's the car going to handle when we've got 25 laps on the tires, when we've got 40 laps on the tires. That's exactly what they're working on right now. This 2-hour practice session, when you think about it, is a long time. Even though it's the only practice of the day, 2 hours straight on a 3/4-mile racetrack, you can get an awful lot accomplished here. We're about halfway through this practice session. Mike Shiplet is satisfied with the race car, but you guys know this. And Dylan, as a racer yourself, there's always more speed out there. You can never be content.
No, that is exactly right, Alex. And that's the advantage of having a 2-hour practice, is you can get the car pretty much dialed in exactly how you want it. Mike Shiplet, the crew chief on that 00 car, finished second here last year in the fall with Ross Chastain as well. So he knows what he's looking for in the race car, and Cole has run well here in the past as well. So between the two of them, they're going to be tough to beat tonight.
Cole Custer, what a great race car driver he is. The youngster, that win a couple weeks ago at Auto Club Speedway, a home track victory for him. The celebration. Cole is one of those great young racers that we have in the sport, but a little quiet. You know, I think when you get to know him, he's got great personality, but he's one that traditionally is a little bit quieter. That win unleashed the beast, if you will. He was jumping up and down on the car. There was so much energy in his voice when Winston Kelly interviewed him in victory lane. He was with the track president, with Dave Allen. They're out riding bikes through the infield and slinging hats and stuff into the crowd. I mean, it was just a great moment for Cole Custer as he continues to evolve as a great race car driver. So I love what's going on there with him as he continues to climb the ladder, and who knows, maybe later on he'll cash a check for $100,000. That'll probably bring a smile to his face as well.
I know we'd see some emotion there from Cole if he pocketed one of those checks. Another driver who's been a pleasant surprise this year, and probably the best from his junior motorsports team, is Michael Annett. Of course, won the season opener at Daytona, has finished in the top 5 in 7 races, or rather 2 top 5 finishes in 7 races this year and 5 top 10s this year, off to the best start of his career, and he's downstairs with Jeff Street.
Yeah, compare that, if you will, Dylan, to 3 top 10 finishes for the entire season 1 year ago for Michael Annett. And I want to bring in my pit road partner down here, Alex Hayden. Alex, let's remind the listeners, Junior Motorsports has 4 Chevrolet Camaros. I know you can name them. Who are they?
Yeah, Noah Gragson, he's doing a fantastic job. Shane Smith, we highlighted him as well earlier, and Justin Allgaier, and that 4th driver, the one that is leading the brigade for Junior Motorsports, of course, is Michael Annett.
And the thing that you wonder when you think of Michael Annett, is he the guy that would be the most probable driver to take Junior Motorsports now, 7 races in to victory lane? Well, if you said no, well, you would have been wrong, because Dylan, like you said, it was Michael Annett that took Dale Jr. and this entire organization to victory lane in Daytona, kicking off the season down there with a victory. He's climbed out of his Chevrolet Camaro now, climbed up here on the box, and you're taking a look at numbers and just kind of evaluating. You got your team up here debriefing. Right now, I believe it was 19th quick in practice. How good or not so good is your car right now?
I honestly can't hear you at all. No, we're just, we got a 15-minute penalty here. But we're fighting for a drive off right now. Made some big changes and just still not being able to hit on it yet. But, our teammates are running really good, so we're going to head in their direction, and hopefully that'll solve the issues.
Let's try to make it understandable, if we can, for the listeners. When you talk about drive off and making wholesale big changes, what are the kind of things that you do to the car to accomplish that?
Taking right rear spring out, wedge, track bar, or even, I think we're going to make a truck arm change right now. Just when you go to your go-tos and it's not working, you gotta try something more aggressive. So I think we're gonna make that truck arm change, and like I said, hopefully that'll be the cure-all.
And if he can make it the cure-all, he will do exactly what he did to start this season, guys, and that is go to victory lane. That came back in February at Daytona when Michael Annett took Junior Motorsports and his organization to victory lane.
Jeff, thank you. And a pretty amazing stat when you look at it here, when you talk about that win for Michael Annett at Daytona. The only driver that's piloting a Chevrolet this year to win in all 3 of NASCAR's National Touring Series. And if you're going to get one win, doing it at Daytona is not a bad place to do it.
Great place to do it, that's for sure. Michael Annett, of course, he's been around the sport, had a taste of time in the Cup Series. He's found a really good home there in the Xfinity Series at Junior Motorsports team, and picked up that much-needed win for his career, for his motivation, for his team and his guys. Last night had some late-night driving getting up here to Richmond, and my listening of choice was the Dale Jr. download, and I would highly recommend it. In fact, if you're not a regular listener to podcasts, the podcasting world in NASCAR is just so rich with so many great podcasts. And spent some time listening to Dale Jr. last night on the way up here, and he made a comment, I forget, it was one of the recent races where Michael had a 6th place finish along the way, and he said, finally, all you internet haters can get off Michael Annett's back. And he has certainly, he's not got him off his back, he's thrown him off his back with the season he's had, and it's been so much fun to watch Michael Annett. Of course, that celebration in Daytona was so good. Another great racing family with roots deep in the sport out in the Des Moines, Iowa area, and just great to see him have the success he has. And I find your stat interesting. Not only the only Chevy to win, but I think if you're going to Vegas and saying who'd be the first and only Chevy to win, in complete honesty, I'm not sure that Michael Annett would be the guy that we picked, but kudos to him. And I think that shows how big that win was for him at Daytona. We're more than an hour, 1 hour and 3 minutes into this, so it means we're down to about 47 minutes remaining in this practice session. Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, Zane Smith, and Justin Haley continue your top 5. That really hasn't changed. That early morning speed is likely going to keep us in about the same spot through the balance of this practice session. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
For more than 80 years, Detroit Diesel has been the legendary driving force powering many of the best-known trucks on the road. Through our state-of-the-art Detroit technologies in components and safety systems, we've earned our customers' trust as a reliable business partner dedicated to improving their bottom line. It's no wonder they continue to depend on Detroit to keep them safe and efficient on the road. When you demand it all, demand Detroit.
At Victory Junction, it's simple. We believe every child, no matter their diagnosis or disability, deserves the chance to just be a kid. So we provide a medically safe environment where children who live in a world of hospital stays and doctor's visits are free to do everything from riding horses, ziplining, swimming, fishing, and bowling, all at no cost to the camper. The experience inspires confidence, builds self-esteem, and changes the life of every child who comes here. Help us change a child's life at victoryjunction.org.
We are here at Richmond Raceway, Xfinity Series practice, setting us up for tonight's Toyota Care 250. We are so glad you joined us here on Motor Racing Network here on NASCAR.com. This race number 2 in the Dash for Cash. Last week at Bristol, it was Christopher Bell scoring the big prize. Coming out on April 27th, Talladega will host a Dash for Cash race, and the Monster Mile Dover will wrap up the Dash for Cash series on the 4th of May. Looking at the Dash for Cash drivers, if we can find them on our scoring monitor here, Chase Briscoe is second fastest. Cole Custer is third fastest of the Chase drivers. Sixth fastest is Christopher Bell. And where are we at here with the other Chase driver? Who's our other Dash for Cash driver?
Tyler Reddick.
Tyler Reddick.
25th.
25th fastest. Yeah, that's why I couldn't find him. 25th fastest. No wonder. I'm looking toward the top of the scoring sheets. But Tyler Reddick, 25th fastest. He has completed 49 laps. We had 8 drivers that are serving penalties. Okay, and that's not what you're looking for, but it is good for us because they're serving their penalties from 9 o'clock to 9:15. Those are penalties on the basis of practice problems that they encountered last week at Bristol. So the drivers have climbed out of the race car. They're sitting atop the pit boxes. That's why we talked to Michael Annett, and let's get on. Another driver serving that 15-minute penalty is Tyler Reddick, and I believe our Jeff Striegel has caught up with him.
So you're thinking that $100,000 might motivate a driver. Is that what you're saying, Steve?
Yeah, I think so.
$100,000. Motivation for you, $100,000 in the Dash for Cash, or would you just rather have the trophy at the end of the night, Tyler?
All right, now I hope I can just figure out what I'm missing. I know that there's no lack of speed in this Anderson's pure maple syrup Chevrolet that RCR brought. This car was really, really good here in the fall. It's not very good here sometimes, and I just don't know what I need to do to go fast at the beginning of a run. But we'll throw a new set of tires on here at the reset button, and hopefully it can remove my head from my posterior.
All right, so right now, yep, 25th, but we know this is not a 25th place car. We know you're not a 25th place driver. We know that even if you qualified 25th, we're going to watch you drive through the field. You're chasing something. How difficult is it when you are chasing something that's wrong with the car, but you can't put your finger on it?
I don't even know there's anything wrong with the car. The car's doing a lot of things very well. It's just it takes me 40 laps to figure out what I need to do, I guess. Hopefully with this new set of tires, go right back where we're supposed to be. But as of right now, a little uncertainty's got me stirred up, but I know it's not the car. I just got to figure out what I'm not hitting on right now.
Is it possible then that the penalty that you're serving right now is actually a blessing in disguise? Okay, you get an opportunity, bring it in, get out of the car, just kind of download personally, and then get back in and go to work?
Yeah, honestly, it probably was, because you probably would have had to get out of the car and leave the racetrack, come back, pretend like the day just started again.
All right, I know he's down on himself, guys, and Tyler Reddick. I don't think I would be too concerned about him. Steve, Dylan, I think he's been in a situation like this before, only to rise from it. And we've seen him accomplish some pretty big things over the course of his career, most notably back at Homestead at the end of last year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Of course, the defending series champion in Tyler Reddick aboard the Richard Childress Racing #2 this evening and this season. 25th, though, right now on the leaderboard looking to improve his race car as he goes back out. And they've really been another driver, Steve, that we've talked about that has had a lot of momentum the last 4 weeks. Really only one blemish in their finishing results this season. Had a 9th place finish at Daytona, not where they wanted, but a 14th at Las Vegas. Since then, a 3rd at ISM Raceway in Phoenix, a 4th at Auto Club, 2nd at Texas, 2nd last weekend in Bristol. They're doing something right, at least in the races, and trying to find that right now in practice.
They really are. They are racing so well. Of course, Tyler is the reigning champ of this series, and in complete honesty, has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because there's been a lot of talk about this series and the young guys and the old guys, and there was even some promotional things that mentioned everybody but the reigning champ, and he had a little fun. He played it off as a little fun on social media, but I don't think it was fun either. I think it was like a little bit like unreal. What do I have to do? I won your championship, and here we go. And I think that chip on his shoulder has served him well, though. I think that has really made him and that team be very, very good. Right now, they're sitting 25th. I would be shocked when we end up tonight that they're not up at the front mixing it up. That is a great race car driver and a great race team. They're better than 25th, and I know listening to Jeff, and Jeff even said he's a little bit down on himself. He is better than that, and he'll prove that tonight. He may not be down on himself. I think $100 may ease that down on himself tonight. They'll be really, really good this evening.
I think they will too, and that's something that we see really throughout the course of the weekend with Tyler Reddick and this team. They continue to work on their car throughout the day, throughout the race. By the end of the race, they're always up front where they want to be, and just looking for that first win of the year to kind of break through, and no better place to get it than here at Richmond and pocket $100,000 as well.
$100,000. Take 100,000 big ones back. It is the Dash for Cash. There are 4 drivers eligible tonight. Really, it's pretty simple. The first finishing driver. If they all wreck, whoever finishes 32nd, if that's the first of the 4 drivers, gets the Dash for Cash. Those 4 drivers, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Chase Briscoe. Chatted a little bit earlier about Chase Briscoe. He is the fastest among those drivers, and looking at the number of laps he's completed, 81 laps. That is a lot of laps around this racetrack. Of course, he's trying to learn as a young race car driver, learn his way around this Richmond Raceway. Let's double back and see what is happening an hour and 11 minutes into this practice session. Alex Hayden, what's going on down there with Chase Briscoe?
Well, you mentioned the 81 plus laps for Chase Briscoe, but there's a very good reason for that as he brings that race car back down here to his pit box. It's a Ford Mustang, bright orange, green on this race car, and white as well, the Nutra-Chomps Ford Mustang. The reason why they've run so many laps is they've had good fire-off speed. When the tires were new, the car was spectacular as far as the handling goes. That's why he was able to put down the 2nd fastest lap of the session. However, the older the tires got and the more that the balance of the car changed over the run, it's gotten very, very tight, meaning the front tires aren't gripping the track very well. So Richard Boswell, the crew chief, and his team down here have been talking to him on the radio on those long runs, saying, hey, try this line. Try backing the corner up, getting in, and try to do things differently to try to cure the tight handling of the race car. They brought it back in. They're going to make some air pressure adjustments and try to see how that helps the race car and potentially make another change or 2 underneath the hood of the car on the front suspension. But the car's too tight and he can't get it to grip. But Dylan, this guy, he can race on the dirt, but attacking a corner in a dirt car as opposed to backing a corner up on a pavement stock car, that's a big change.
It is, and it's really kind of the opposite mentality when you come from a dirt racing background, because you gain so much of your time on the entry to the corner, and here in pavement in stock car racing, that can hurt you. That can cause more harm than good if you overdrive the corner, because then it messes up the center of the corner, how the car rotates, how it turns through the corner. That messes you up coming off the corner, and it just becomes a cycle. So it is a different mentality when you come from dirt track racing, but Chase has run enough stock cars by now that he understands that concept, understands the fact that when you get into the corner a little bit easier, you may give up maybe a little bit of time, or even visually give up time on the racetrack to whoever you're chasing, but you gain it all back when the car turns better, you get off the corner faster, you get down the straightaway better, then it starts to add up.
The last few years have served Chase well because he's been in the Ford development program, and while there's not always been seats in the Xfinity Series or a Truck Series program, they've had him out sports car racing, road racing, and of course we've talked about his midget and sprint car background, so he has been racing a lot of laps, that's for sure.
And the sports, you mentioned the sports car, they have to do that a lot, backing up the corner. That's very important in those cars, so that's something he understands as well.
Alex mentioned the bright orange on the car. As we mentioned, we spent some time with him, with Chase Briscoe this week, Nutra-Chomps, and it's a dog treat, and they're having a campaign, and This to me would be the coolest thing in the world. In fact, I was trying to figure out how to get our dogs on the side of the car. And it's a contest all year long. You can get your picture of your dog on the side of the car. But Chase, a dog lover, he was talking about his dog, and he'll play fetch with his dog in the house, and the dog will always play properly and bring it back. He said he'll throw throw whatever it is, the ball or the bone or whatever it is out in the yard. He says the dog will go get it and just lay right down in position. So he hasn't figured out outdoor fetch. But he had his dogs, and he talked about the picture. We all love our pets, we all love our animals, and it's a great sponsorship of Boots Shops, and to have a pet owner and a pet lover like Chase Briscoe being their spokesperson, what a great combination. And still working on the dog to fetch outside, but still working on the race car as well, getting comfortable racing here on the dirt track. Right now, 82 laps is ran, and second fastest for Chase Briscoe.
I think Ricky, Chase's dog, has figured out fetch because he's making Chase do all the work.
Chase is doing the chasing.
Yes, exactly. Chase is doing the fetching. So good stuff there, and a great initiative, no doubt, on the side of Chase Briscoe's car. Just about a minute, or an hour and 15 minutes, that is, through practice here for the NASCAR Xfinity Series from Richmond Raceway. It's still Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, Zane Smith, and Justin Haley, the top 5. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
The camper flying 18 flags is in. The guys on pit road are in. Second graders with mohawks, in. Bratwurst for your 25 closest friends. Bring it in. And because it's BYOB, your soft cooler is always in. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race at Kansas Speedway, Saturday, May 11th, under the lights. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. You in?
2019 is the Motor Racing Network's 50th year, and things are about to get a lot louder. I'm Woody Kane. The NASCAR season is revving its engine, and MRN's 2 biggest loudspeakers are back when race spotter Joey Meyer and I bring you the latest news, results, and headlines every Monday on MRN Out Loud. Crank it up Mondays on MRN.com, iTunes, or wherever podcasts are heard.
NASCAR Xfinity Series practice.
Christopher Bell will lap cap and leg one more time. He'll see the checkered flag, and Christopher Bell wins the Go Bowling 250 at Richmond Raceway.
Now, back to Jeff Striegel and Alex Hayden.
Back at Richmond Raceway, Dylan Welch and Steve Post in the booth. Jeff Striegel and Alex Hayden patrolling the pit and garage area here for NASCAR Xfinity Series practice. The Toyota Care 250 later on this evening for the Xfinity Series on the Motor Racing Network. It's still Noah Gragson on top of the board with Chase Briscoe and Cole Custer, the top 3. The driver that we've talked a lot about so far today is Christopher Bell, who of course won last weekend at Bristol, has won the last 2 races here at Richmond Raceway, sweeping the events in 2018. He sits 6th on the board right now. And Jeff Striegel, what's the story from down in their pits?
Well, you guys were talking about dogs before we went to the break, and I'll tell you what, the big dog on the porch ready to run has to be Christopher Bell on a short track, or more importantly here at Richmond Raceway. Like you pointed out, he has won the last 2 times here, and I think Alex Hayden shared this stat when we came on the air. When you take a look at what C. Bell has done on the last 6 trips to a short track, it would be a win, a runner-up, a win, a runner-up, a win, and a win. He is very good here. Like you guys pointed out right now, he is 6th quick. Just brought the Toyota Supra in. His crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, is right now making a couple of notes, getting a couple of things buttoned up, and now he's going to lean in and catch a word with us. How satisfied are you with this Supra right now where we are in practice, Jason?
Well, I feel like we've made a lot of gains on it. We started off a little too tight, but I feel like we've made some improvements. I think the track is getting a lot closer to what we'll see tonight compared to where it was when we started. We're going to put our second set of tires on right here and see what we got and make a long run.
Before we came on the air, we were talking amongst ourselves. You might as well just script out the trophy, script out the race, just hand it to you guys right now and don't even bother running it. How confident are you in that?
Well, I mean, I wish it was that simple. I do like our success rate here has been pretty good, but
you know, I know that the rest of these guys are working hard. The competition's pretty tough right now in this series, so these guys are going to have to keep working hard on the car if we're going to get it done tonight, but so far I like where we're at.
Sum up, if you will, real quickly before we let you go, the recipe for success. You guys have it right now. It's a chemistry, it's a magic, it's puzzle pieces all in the right place. Agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the thing we do well is we capitalize on, you know, what we're good at. We capitalize on our strengths and we work on our weaknesses each and every week. And I think our communication continues to grow for this race team and for Christopher. We just got to keep doing that. We got to keep doing that, keep minimizing mistakes throughout the race and making our car better throughout the race. And I think we'll continue to move forward in our success.
Best of luck here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief on the 20. Christopher Bell in the seat right now, winning that up crew, working on the race car. And, you know, we have debated this time and time again. Steve Post, Dylan, Alex Hayden. You've got such a talented race car driver, a very young, talented race car driver in Christopher Bell, obviously ready to move up, take on the next step in his career. The only problem is, I think, Steve, is where the heck you going to put him?
Yeah, there's a little log jam, and that's been one of the big stories over the course of this last few weeks is the log jam at Joe Gibbs Racing, where you have 4 teams, which is what the NASCAR limit is as far as the number of Cup Series teams they can have. You have drivers Kyle Busch, who's not going anywhere. You have Martin Truex, who is brand new over there. He's not going anywhere. Denny Hamlin's one of the top drivers in NASCAR right now. He's not going anywhere. And Eric Jones, one of the best young stars, he's negotiating an extension to a contract. Now, Joe Gibbs, Coach Gibbs, says he has a plan for Eric Jones and for Christopher Bell. What that plan is, I don't know. Basic math would say I'm not sure what that is. But it is a great problem to have at Joe Gibbs Racing. And honestly, Dylan, Christopher Bell, there's a lot of drivers, a lot of young racers, and you know Christopher from your dirt track background, there's a lot of young racers that would be absolutely clubbing the team owner and everybody who will listen over the head. Christopher has handled this he's so laid back and so content, and I'm just amazed. I think Christopher's handling it better than all the rest of us are handling it, actually.
He has taken it in stride, there's no doubt, because there was people that were pushing for him to be in the Cup Series this year after how well he ran in the Xfinity Series in 2018, and he's come out swinging, you know, has won multiple races, obviously, and is just as strong and just doing everything he can to continue to win and put himself in a position that when a seat does open up that he's ready for it. And obviously, the more you race, the more you learn, the more laps you get, that's only going to help you when you move to the next level. And it is an interesting situation because there are so many young up-and-coming drivers in this Toyota pipeline, and there's just not really any place for them to go. And I think we're in a changing of the guard period. We're starting to get there on the Cup side, and so there's going to be some seats that open up in a couple years, but I don't think Christopher wants to wait a couple years. He's ready to go Cup racing, and I think would excel in a Cup car. So it is interesting to see kind of where the pieces get put into place and how everything will work out there in the next couple of years.
Yeah, the challenge is that Joe Gibbs Racing is atop the Cup pecking order. It's the king of the mountain. So a Cup ride with a mid-pack team, is that better than another year in the Xfinity with Joe Gibbs Racing? And that's those are decisions Christopher Bell's going to have to work on. Right now, they're working on this race car, and he continues on 6th fastest. So that's one side of the Joe Gibbs Racing camp. The other side of the Joe Gibbs Racing camp here in the Xfinity Series is Atlanta, Georgia driver Brandon Jones. Now, Brandon started the season a little bit rough. See numbers of 33rd and 28th place finishes in his results this season. But when we look at the last month, it's been significantly better. The last 5 races, a 4th place finish, a 3rd place finish, 8th, 7th, 6th. So 5 straight top 10 finishes for Brandon Jones. 11th fastest right now. He has 63 laps completed here this morning at Richmond, and Alex Hayden is down watching what's going on in the Brandon Jones pit area.
It hasn't been all that swimmingly good for Brandon Jones after a fantastic run a week ago in the short track at Bristol. The car just can't get it to rotate in the middle of the corner. That kills your exit speed, which at the end of these straightaways means you're not going as fast as the competition. They've been fighting it and fighting it here the first hour plus of this 2-hour practice session. They bolted on a fresh set of brand new Goodyear tires to go back out on the racetrack after another round of adjustments on the race car. Sitting back out on the speedway, they're going to do a longer run here just to see how those changes react with the new tires on there, what the balance of the race car is going to be. But Brandon Jones, he's another one of those talented young drivers that has scratched the surface of getting the victory lane, but just hasn't been able to seal the deal just yet. He's talented enough. He's certainly in good enough equipment to go get racing Toyota Supras down here. But Brandon Jones, after the run last week, has a lot of confidence coming into Richmond. They just need to get the car to agree with them here.
We shall see what happens whether they continue to work on that race car. One of the things we haven't done yet, let's give a full field rundown here. We've talked about the top 10 and it really hasn't changed, so let's make sure we establish 40 cars are here. Only 37 have completed times right now. Noah Gragson is fastest, Chase Briscoe second, Cole Custer is third, Zane Smith is fourth, Justin Haley is fifth, Christopher Bell is sixth fastest, seventh fastest is John Hunter Nemechek, eighth is Justin Allgaier, ninth is Stephen White, and Dylan Bassett is 10th.
Brandon Jones, the driver we just talked about, is 11th right now. Elliott Sadler, making his return to the Xfinity Series, sits 12th on the leaderboard. Mason Diaz is 13th. Kaz Gralla, also returning to the series, sits 14th. Riley Herbst is 15th. Austin Syndrich is 16th, followed by Jeremy Clements, Timmy Hill, Michael Annett, and Ryan Sieg in 20th.
Brandon Brown has the BJ McLeod number 93 car this week. He is 21st. David Starr is 22nd. Gray Galding, local racer here, who is finding his way here in the Xfinity Series, is 23rd. Ross Chastain, we heard from him earlier. He's 24th. 25th is Ray Black, the second. Tyler Reddick, 23rd. He is 26. He's back underway after that 15-minute penalty from problems last week at Bristol. Colin Garrett, local short track racer, limited late model, former champion at South Boston Speedway. He is here. He's 27th. Josh Williams is 28th. Donald Thiege is 29th, racer out of Quebec. And Tyler Matthews is 30th fastest of the drivers so far.
The back 10 in the running order right now. Joey Gase is 31st with Morgan Shepherd 32nd. Kyle Weatherman sits 33rd. Garrett Smithley 34th. Chad Fincham is 36th with Mike Harmon 36th. BJ McLeod is 37th. Jeff Green is 38th, and Vinnie Miller has circled the racetrack but has not taken time. He sits 39th right now.
Vinnie has just rolled out, as a matter of fact, so he is getting everything pulled tight and getting set to go here. We continue on with this practice session, 1 hour and 26 minutes deep into it, so we're down to, 24 minutes remaining in this practice session here at Richmond. Cars continue to circulate around the speedway. See a trio of cars now. John Hunter Nemechek working down into turns 1 and 2. There's Austin Syndrich there working with him as well as they work around. Josh Williams in the car, and those two cars working their way toward turn number 3. So cars making their way around. Gray Galding is out on the speedway as well, and just great racing here at the Richmond Raceway as we continue on further and further into this 2-hour practice session. Xfinity Series drivers, they have a qualifying session later today, and of course tonight, 6:30 Eastern Time, Motor Racing Network's coverage of the Toyota Care 250. You can catch us right here on the Motor Racing Network. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
NASCAR Coast to Coast on MRN.com and Motor Racing Network's Facebook. Join me, Kyle Rickey, and Hannah Newhouse as we talk with the next generation of NASCAR stars and established local and regional racers each Wednesday at 1 Eastern Time. Or subscribe, download, and listen on your favorite podcast provider. NASCAR Coast to Coast. Grassroots NASCAR racing from the Motor Racing Network.
Winged Nation with Steve Post, Aaron Evernham, and Ashley Strim. Your destination for all things winged sprint cars. Each Saturday at 8:30 and 11:30 a.m. on MAV TV. Live at noon on wingsnation.com and Facebook Live. Join us for in-depth conversations with drivers and personalities that make up the greatest dirt racing on earth. The Winged Nation Preview Podcast each Thursday previews the upcoming weekend. Winged Nation, winged sprint car talk covering dirt tracks all across America.
Practice continues on here at Richmond Raceway, setting things up for tonight's Toyota Care 250 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. All 40 drivers have now made it out onto the speedway, so all decks are on hand, if you will, or all hands are on deck.
Something like that.
Something like that. All hands are on deck, and everyone now has completed laps, and we will see who are the 38 drivers that roll off tonight when we go green. Green flag time after 7 o'clock. Our airtime on Motor Racing Network is at 6:30 Eastern Time. What a season it has been here in the Xfinity Series. So many great stories, and maybe none better than Ryan Sieg, the 31-year-old racer from Tucker, Georgia. Ryan's been doing this for years and years and years, and all of a sudden he's found a spark this season. He has been so much fun to run. Averages a 9th place finish this year in all finishes, I believe, inside the top 12 or top 15. So he's been really, really good. Actually had a 22nd place finish here a couple weeks ago, but it has been a stout season for Ryan Sieg as we have gone into the 2019 season. One of the great stories here this year. So Ryan Sieg is here today practicing. He has gone out and 20th fastest, 62 laps is where he's at. That's where he's at on the timing and scoring here. Down here in the garage area. Alex Hayden, what are they saying about the race car and what's happening down here with Ryan Sieg?
Well, let's ask Ryan Sieg himself. Ryan, how is the race car here so far in practice? He just got out of it making another run.
Pretty good. Felt like it stayed consistent the whole run. Feels pretty good right now. Here it's a tough place to figure out, but I think with Shane's experience and I've been here kind of knowing what it needs to be like, I feel like we're pretty good with Shane on the box. He's been around for a while.
No worse than 12th in all races this year. What does it mean to you and this family-owned race team to start having the success that you've worked so hard for all these years?
It means a lot. Couldn't be happier with the success this year. It's going really well, and I expect to get better each and every week. And with the team and everybody, it's huge for such a small team to be running with the Cup-affiliated teams. It's pretty big.
You mentioned Shane coming over here. Shane Wilson, your crew chief. Years and years of experience. He's won an awful lot of races, crew chiefing with Brendan Gaughan in the Truck Series. He's been in the Xfinity Series. That type of experience coupled with Cowboy Starlin, your former crew chief, who's now taking on more of an administrative leadership role. How important is it to surround yourself with that caliber of a person?
Oh, that means a lot. You know what I mean? You gotta have the whole package, and Shane's part of it. We got cars and motors, but you gotta have the experience and you know what I mean, that's been around for a while. To know when I'm a little off or what I need to do, just ask him, lean on him a lot, and it comes with a lot of experience, especially here it seems like.
And Ryan Sieg, visiting with you, final question. Piecing together sponsorship can be a challenge. You guys got green and black on the car. You got Larry's Lemonade on board of it. It's a big opportunity here at Richmond to not only have them because they're sponsoring also the fan deck over there in turn number 4. How important is it to continue to get the success to start seeing the financial part of it?
Yeah, it's a lot of it. Running good, it brings sponsorship, and we've run inside the top 10 most of the year. And Larry's has come on board. He's been a huge help, and they do a lot here at Richmond. They got a bunch of banners for him and I, and can't thank Larry's Hard Lemonade enough for helping us here at Richmond.
All the best to you tonight. That's Ryan Sieg, the driver down here, having a fantastic season this year. You know, Shane Wilson, so many wins in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series with Brendan Gaughan. He ran the Xfinity Series for years and years, had success there. We mentioned Cowboy Starlin. That's his nickname. His real name's Kevin Starlin. And Postman, you know Cowboy, big old burly guy, looks like a cowboy, but he is so smart and understands how to make race cars go fast. He's had success. He's won in the Truck Series as well as a crew chief. They have the parts and pieces now to continue to build on this success. And there's an awful lot of people down in this garage area that are pulling for this race team.
There really is. They've invested in cars and they've invested in people. And I agree with you, Alex. Cowboy Starlin, one of the great guys down there in the garage area, and one of the smart minds down there. And Shane Wilson, man, his record is stout along the way. I'm going to need to get along here pretty good though with Ryan Sieg. We're talking about Larry's Lemonade. Okay, he's got another local sponsor here, Mike D's Barbecue down in Durham. They got banners on the Speedway too as well. So a little barbecue, a little lemonade. Sounds like Alex, if you get a chance there with Ryan, let's hook Dylan and I up with some of the good stuff down there. But yeah, it has really been neat to see not only this team evolve with performance, results, people, equipment, and then some new companies and sponsors coming on board as well.
Well, and we sometimes see these smaller teams, these less funded teams come in and have good runs occasionally. But Ryan Sieg has been good every single race this year, and that's a testament to how well they have built that program up. Of course, had the alliance now with the Earnhardt Childress Group and purchased some of their race cars from last year, and that has really made the difference. And Ryan Sieg and Shane Wilson have teamed up and really have put together some really solid runs, and it is great to see. Another driver that we talked to earlier this morning in practice was Austin Syndrich for the Team Penske entry, the 22 car again this weekend, as he is every weekend here in the Xfinity Series. LTI printing on board his race car this weekend. He sits 16th on the board right now and is coming back to a racetrack where he scored his first career top 5 finish last year in this race. Has been solid this year, 5 top 10s in the first 7 races of the season. Off to a better start than he was last year at this time. Jeff Striegel, how are they feeling about their race car?
They're feeling pretty good about it as he rolls out of the throttle of that Ford Mustang, and he will bring that car down to pit road next time by. While you guys were chatting, it was lap after lap after lap after lap that Austin was putting in here on this 3/4 mile Richmond Raceway. No fewer than 7 of his crew members were gathered around the lap tracker, watching very closely Austin Syndrich running very, very well. That's a good thing. You made the comment 16th quick when you guys gave the rundown and when you came down here. Don't let that fool you. He is number 2 on a 15-lap average. Most importantly of all, on a long run, 20 laps, he is number 1, and that's exactly what they're looking for. Brian Wilson is the crew chief, and again, 7 other crew members all gathered around a lap tracker watching every single lap that Austin has been putting down. And to your point, Dylan, we talked to him, Austin, before we put him on the racetrack much earlier in the morning, and he was very quietly confident. Said, you know, we don't need to get out there right away. In fact, they weren't going to go out until about 30 minutes into the practice session. So they knew they had a good car that they unloaded with, and all they wanted to do is get out there and run exactly what he told us, long runs, and that's what he's doing right now. To your point, it was a 5th place finish for him. The first time he ever came to this racetrack 1 year ago in April. Started 3rd, finished 5th, and if you remember on that day, Steve Post, it was actually better than that because they had a pre-race penalty that sent him all the way to the tail end of the field. That's where he started, and then he just picked him off, worked his way all the way up to 5th. Of course, he'll be looking for more than that here tonight. And Steve, you got to believe that a team, I mean, you're down here all the time, and when somebody tells you, you know, with that little bit of a wink like Brian gave me when I said, how good is the car? And he just kind of gave me that thumbs up and that little half smile. You know they've got a good car when the crew chief agrees.
Absolutely. You can tell. It's body language. It's those little winks and those little smiles, and you can tell right now, looking down Austin Syndrich's car. You mentioned LTI printing on the car. It's kind of white with maroon trim on it, and he's sitting down here along pit wall. What they have is Goodyear tire officials are just giving the tire temperatures and looking at the race car and making sure what the tire wear is on the race car. We're continuing on with this practice session. 1 hour and 37 minutes now deep into it. And so we're down now to about, we got 13 minutes left to go in this practice session. So time to find that winning setup, time to find that finishing setup as well. This race, always one of those races when we talk about short tracks, and this area of the country so rich in great short track racing, whether it's South Boston that we talked about, or Langley, or Southern National Speedway, or Old Dominion Speedway. So many great local racetracks, and what great local racetracks breed and bring are great local racers and a lot of young talent. Mason Diaz, one of those drivers that is part of the local young talent. Right now 13th on the speed chart, made his debut here last year at this racetrack. And Alex Hayden, a guy that knows these short tracks in this area as well as anybody. Alex, you're very familiar with the Mason Diaz and the Diaz family. And so it's great to see a youngster get an opportunity to run here at the big track at Richmond.
It really is. You know, he is from the Commonwealth of Virginia, just on the Virginia side of the nation's capital up there just south of Washington, D.C. But barnstorming around, racing different short tracks around Virginia. Southern National Motorsports Park in Kenly, North Carolina. That's his home racetrack. Yeah, all the way down in North Carolina. It's not all that far from here, about a 2-hour drive. But Mason Diaz has got so much talent. But the thing about Mason that's very impressive, he's got the ability. You mentioned his first career start in the Xfinity Series here at Richmond a year ago with a lead lap finish, finishing inside the top 20. He's won tons of late model races around the Southeast. But, you know, he talked to his dad, said, we understand the financial commitment it takes to run at this top level. without solid sponsorship and full-time sponsorship, let's not try to spend all the money. He's a college student. He wants to go to college. He wants to understand how cars work in the mechanical side of things as well as the marketing side of things. So he understands that it's a business at this level too. So they've got Solid Rock Carriers. That's a trucking company out of LaGrange, North Carolina. Cliffs Marina on board. They got Piper Brothers Barbecue on here. Another barbecue. We need to buddy up with these guys too, Postman. But Mason Diaz is a talented young driver who knows how to wheel race cars, but he's trying to do it the right way and do it in the most affordable way that they can possibly do. Mason Diaz, very good here in practice, inside the top 13 or so in practice speeds, just battling a bit of a tight condition right now with his Solid Rock Carrier Chevrolet Camaro. They made a slight adjustment on the right front to change the toe just a little bit to try to get a bit of better grip to the middle of the corner so he can get back on the throttle quicker and maintain that speed all the way down the straightaways. But this is a young driver you might need to keep an eye on in tonight's race.
Yes, indeed, for sure. You know, a lot of the short track racers here at Motor Racing Network, we're unapologetically proud of our short track background as well. That's Alex Hayden. We talked about him. He barnstorms. He goes to all the tracks around here. A lot of times on off weekends, if you listen real closely at these local tracks, Alex Hayden is one of the guys making the call. Dylan Welch, we talked about him. He was racing the midget cars last week. Jeff Striegel, our other guy working pit road, he actually owns a super late model and a modified team up at Berlin Raceway in Michigan. They're getting ready to kick off their season in a few weeks when the snow leaves the area. And of course, yours truly, we do Wing Nation Sprint Car Talk. So that's what we love about coming to Richmond. The short track racers, we're all short track racers getting the chance to do this on Motor Racing Network. We don't apologize for our love for short track racing, and we love to see racers like Mason Diaz get the opportunity to live out their dream.
There's no doubt about that, Postman. Wrapping up practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, just about 10 minutes remaining here, with still Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, and Cole Custer, the top three. From Richmond Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
When you're on the go, missing the side-by-side action at the racetrack isn't a problem. Here comes Logano on the high side. He drives it deep into turn number 2. Motor Racing Network brings the NASCAR race to you, wherever you are. So you don't miss one lap of the excitement.
Denny Hamlin has won the 61st edition of the Daytona 500.
You are the man, The power of radio to the imagination of the listener. Tune in to the Motor Racing Network. Visit MRN.com for an affiliate list in your local area.
The 1993 Cup Series season had more than its fair share of twists and turns.
Checkered flags waving. I look in my mirror, and here's James right on my tail, and he goes down low to pass me. And I said, oh, no, you don't.
As Wallace spins, Wallace's car goes on its nose.
Hear stories that you've never heard before in a 10-part series called The 1993 Season, 25 years later.
And Davey was behind me, and we came off the corner, and there's a guy standing in the middle of the racetrack.
You can download it for free on iTunes and at MRN.com right now.
Back at Richmond Raceway, final 10 minutes of practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series as they get set for their running of the Toyota Care 250 later on this evening. Again, it is Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, and Zane Smith, the top four, with Justin Haley rounding out the top five as cars continue to circle the racetrack. Well, we've talked a lot about it. The second race of four in the Dash for Cash series, the four-race series here with $100,000 up for grabs in each event to the winner. Christopher Bell won last weekend at Bristol. Cole Custer, Tyler Reddick, and Chase Briscoe all trying to dethrone him, if you will, and that's going to be an awfully tough task because C-Bell gets around Richmond Raceway pretty well. He won both races here last year and has been quick so far in practice. Alex, we talked to Jason Ratcliffe earlier, the crew chief, talked to Christopher Bell a little bit this morning as they get ready to wind down this practice session. How are they feeling as they get ready to go to the race tonight?
Pretty good. Yeah, their car is fantastic. Christopher Bell, as the driver, he obviously knows how to get around this place with the success winning both races here last year. Christopher Bell is a talented driver. They've gotten the car, I believe, exactly where they would like to have it as far as the handling of the race car goes. they are finished with practice. He's brought the car back down the pit lane. They've just now put it up on jack stands. The team's got the polish out. They're going to try to sneak her up just a little bit as they get prepared for qualifying. Make some final go over with it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure this car is buttoned up. And Christopher Bell is the guy to beat down here. And if you had to ask me who's going to win the race tonight, I'd ask you to tell me what a harder question would be, because Christopher Bell right now is the class of the field. That being said, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do it. So, Christopher, you've had the practice under your belt now. How good do you feel about the race car?
I feel good. I think the Super is feeling good. Last times look okay, so we'll just have to see how it goes here. You never know what you're going to have racing tonight.
But the conditions stayed cooler here with the heavy overcast skies. Is that going to help?
Well, it helps everybody. So for me, I would like it a little bit slicker. The sun to come out, the track to get a little hotter. That way you're slipping and sliding. But overall, we're racing at nighttime, so the track's not going to be hot tonight. So maybe this will make it a little bit more realistic for what we're going to have tonight.
Christopher Bell, we talked to him before he got in the race car for practice. Just getting finished talking with him right now. He's very excited about his Rude Toyota Supra for tonight's race.
Well, and he should be. He's first in the overall speed average, first in 20 lap averages, 25 lap averages, and first in 30 lap averages. So if you believe in numbers, C-Bell's got a pretty good race car.
I would say so, yes. Christopher Bell, very, very good here at Richmond, and sounds pretty confident, pretty comfortable about that. As we've mentioned multiple times in this practice show, won both races here last year, and no reason to believe that he's going to be a handful here. And the most recent winner on the tour as well, won at Bristol last week. So Christopher Bell doing Christopher Bell type things, and one of Christopher Bell's things apparently is going to the bank on Monday morning and putting big checks in. And I think he's one of the drivers that said keep winning these races for sprint cars is what's in his future. So it is great to see Christopher Bell have the success that he is having here. We're down to about 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes remaining in this practice session. The 4 Dash for Cash drivers, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, and Cole Custer. Cole, of course, has a win earlier this season, and he's been awful stout here at this race this season. Has been a good start to him. 4 top 5 finishes in the first 7 races this year. Last year at this time, and it was his rookie season, he only had 1 top 5 finish. So certainly stepping up his game in his sophomore year. And Jeff Striegel's down there near the Ford Mustang. Jeff, this practice session for Cole Custer, what did you see? What did they learn? What's the feeling down in their garage area?
Well, it is just wrapped up, Steve, so we're going to end where we started down here. Mike Shiplet up on the box, Cole Custer dropping the window net, and now the hood is going up. Practice is over for Cole and this Ford Mustang team for Stewart Haas Racing. And I think what we learned here is you guys just keep talking. Just keep talking about how good Christopher Bell is in that Toyota Supra, because the more you talk about it, the more it makes Cole Custer and this entire organization smile, because they believe they have something to do to keep Christopher Bell from going to victory lane. Yeah, and like Alex said, it's, you know, if you're going to bet on somebody, sure, you're probably going to bet on the 20. Why wouldn't you? Until somebody beats them, you got to go with them. But I think the 00 of Cole Custer believe that they have a Ford Mustang very capable of running with him all night. And the reason why we say that, while Christopher was #1 on the long run, Cole Custer not too bad either. They were 5th quick, and that's what they were looking for. Again, short run speed, that's great. Long run speed, that's even better. Cole and his team very satisfied. So, you know, we started off with Mike Shiplet to start, and he talked about the agenda. I think agenda accomplished, practice over, they'll qualify and get ready for the Dash for Cash. And somebody's going to take home $100,000 tonight. Cole hopes it's going to be him that will be the one at the bank come Monday morning.
We shall see. That is for sure. It is race number 2 of the Dash for Cash. Christopher Bell won it last week. He picked up $100,000. Someone tonight will win $100,000. Talladega on April 27th, and Dover coming up on May 4th. The 4 drivers, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, and Cole Custer. Going to swing it right back down to the garage area and kind of get your assessment. Maybe if you're walking up to the gambling window, who do you think might be somebody worth putting some money on as far as those 4 drivers? Start with Alex Hayden. Alex, your thoughts? What do you say? Who do you think's going to be making that run on Monday morning to the bank and putting that 100 G's into their bank account? Alex, maybe he's gone to the bank as well. off already. So he might have made his way there. Dylan, when we look at this, what's your take on these 4 drivers and assess where they're at?
Well, it's obviously going to be hard to bet against Christopher Bell. He's been so strong so far today and runs well here, has run well in the past, won the last 2 races here at Richmond Raceway. So he's the obvious choice. Cole Custer has run well. Tyler Reddick, I think, could be a sleeper. If you look at the scoreboard right now, he's 24th. You're going to think, well, he's off. But I think over the course of the race, they're going to get that race car dialed in, and he'll be right there at the end. I like Chase Briscoe. He's run really, really well the last few weeks. They continue to get better week in and week out. He's run 134 laps today. That's second most, only behind John Hunter Nemechek's 146. So you'd think that if they don't have it figured out by now, that they're probably not going to in the race. But he's run really well the last few weeks. He is getting around here well today. So I like Chase Briscoe maybe to go out on the limb to pick Buddy Boy to get it done.
Buddy Boy, that's what he's called, and I was kind of going the same direction as you. I kind of like that one, of course, Christopher Bell. Let's go back down to the pit area. Jeff Striegel, your thoughts? Who you putting your money on?
Well, let me start this way, Steve. I'm not going to go with Tyler Reddick because Tyler Reddick wasn't confident in himself, and so I'm going to say, okay, for those reasons, you're out. I'm not going to go with Austin Syndrich because he's only made 2 starts here, and until you have been here, done that, I've got to say, Chase Briscoe, you're out. Cole Custer, I like where he's at. A winner at California, they're probably ready to win here, but I got to look at that other guy in there, and because of that, I'm going to say Cole Custer, you're out. And that leaves just one driver, and that's the driver of the 20 who has been there, done that. The car is fast. I think you got to look at Christopher Bell here tonight as a slam dunk.
Jeff Striegel shinnying and way out on that limb out there. Yeah, exactly. And looking down at the flag stand, the red and black flags are being displayed. That will bring to an end this practice session. Jeff Striegel and Alex Hayden, they have done yeoman's work down there. I don't know how many drivers and crew chiefs we've heard from. I think we've covered the entire garage area, and those guys have done a wonderful job covering all of the action. They're going to catch their breath, and they'll be back at 11 Eastern. They'll be up here topside when we go Cup Series practicing here at Richmond. Dylan, let's give the full field rundown. Let everyone know who's all here and where they all finished, and we'll get some final thoughts and get out of here. Noah Gragson was fastest. Chase Briscoe second. Cole Custer, Zane Smith, Justin Haley, Christopher Bell 7th. John Hunter Nemechek 8th. Justin Allgaier, Stephen Light 9th, and Dylan Bassett 10th.
Brandon Jones was 11th. Elliott Sadler 12th. Mason Diaz 13th. Kaz Gralla 14th. Riley Herbst will end up 15th with Austin Syndrich, Jeremy Clements, Timmy Hill, Michael Annett, and Ryan Sieg, the top 20.
Brandon Brown, 21st. David Starr, 22nd. Gray Galding, 23rd. 24th, Tyler Reddick. Ross Chastain, 25th. 26th is Ray Black, the second. Colin Garrett, 27th. 28th is Josh Williams. Donald Teague is 29th, and Tyler Matthews is 30th.
And the back 10 of the field, Joey Gase is 31st, followed by Jeff Green, Morgan Shepherd, Kyle Weatherman, and Garrett Smithley 35th, with Chad Fincham, Mike Harmon, Matt Mills, Vinnie Miller, and B.J. McLeod rounding out our field.
We started the conversation 2 hours ago, Dylan, saying, what are we going to learn here? Just your assessment, your thoughts on what we've seen in this practice session.
Well, we learned that Christopher Bell has a great car again, so it's it is hard to know because the top 5 really didn't change that much from the first few laps of practice to now, so you kind of have to look at long run speeds and things like that to determine maybe who has the best race car. We know who the players are going to be, but this track is kind of a wild card. It can be a wild card. You can race here. You can move around on this racetrack. If your car is not handling exactly how you want, you do have some options. So it's just going to be about who can who can rise to the occasion here and get the most out of their race car. Always fun to watch this race here at Richmond. The Xfinity cars put on a great show here. It was a great race, both races here last year, so I'm excited to watch.
It is going to be great. Let's set the table for the rest of the day here on Motor Racing Network and NASCAR.com. Coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, it's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, a 1 hour or 50-minute, 55-minute practice session. That's at 11 a.m. right here on Motor Racing Network and NASCAR.com. At 1 p.m., happy hour for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Again, a 50-minute practice session for the Cup Series cars. We're going to take a little breather here on Motor Racing Network. Then at 5:30, we're going to come back with Cup qualifying, setting the field for tomorrow night's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race. And then at 6:30 Eastern Time, it is the Toyota Care 250 from Richmond for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And we cannot wait to bring you that race. See who cashes the big check. The big 4 as far as the Dash for Cash goes: Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe and Cole Custer. For Jeff Striegel, for Alex Hayden, for my broadcast partner Dylan Welch, this is Steve Post. Thanks for joining us here on NASCAR.com and Motor Racing Network's coverage of practice here from Richmond Raceway.
Motor Racing Network's coverage of NASCAR practice has come to you from Richmond Raceway. Today's broadcast was brought to you under an exclusive radio license provided by Richmond Raceway to the Motor Racing Network, solely for the private non-commercial use of our listening audience. Any use of the description and accounts of this event without the express written consent of the Motor Racing Network is prohibited. Follow all the NASCAR action at MRN.com. This has been a production of the Motor Racing Network.